guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming, so me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Far Beyond the World. So y'all, let's go ahead and just jump right back in, shall we? Please sit back and enjoy for the next 18 minutes by entertaining you, and let's jump right in. Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go. Alright. It doesn't seem quite as festive without all the lights and Santa being in the corner hiding behind the Christmas tree, does it? Anyway. That's why I felt so oddly at peace with him. That's why we formed such a strong connection. Your name is really pretty. It rolls off my tongue as if I knew it forever. I state, trying to contain the emotional torrent erupting deep inside of me. I can almost imagine you carving the name here. I mutter, tracing the etching with my fingers. How did you end up with it, if you don't mind me asking? Was it your choice? Yes, it was. The wolf nods. What does it mean? A wolf should never reveal his pup name, nor a reason for his choice of an adult name. Seriously? I gasp in amazement at the secrecy of it all, but at the same time, carrying a few secrets of my own, I can definitely understand this. But there's a reason, right? There is. An embarrassing one. But there is. He mumbles awkwardly, shuffling the grass beneath his paws and looking away. And you're not going to tell me? Maybe one day. Maybe not. Maybe one day, but not today. I finish for him, with a gentle smile. I won't be the one to pry. Fine. I sigh, closing my eyes and taking a deep breath while stretching my arms out. As Verissa once told me, all good things come in time. I'm glad you brought me here. His muzzle lights up and his tail wags at the comment, while I continue exploring the area. What's this? I ask as I stumble across a small stone structure. It almost looks like some sort of a garden lantern. Ah, it's a Fey shrine, he says in a slightly weary tone. My mother was a bit superstitious. She had it commissioned upon my birth. Superstitious? I ask, not sure what that really means for magic-weary, otherworldly woven society. She followed the old ways. I'm told she used to light a light here every day, asking the forest spirits to look over me. That's really sweet. I smile, clasping my hands together and looking at this token of her devotion. Do you continue doing that? And what, leave an unattended fire next to my name tree? The wolf snorts dismissively. I doubt a small candle would burn down the forest. You'd be surprised. Either way, your mom seems quite a character. I'd love to learn more about her. I say absent-mindedly, only to notice Ranok's entire posture to deflate. Fuck! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to... No, it's fine. The wolf sighs, lowering his head in defeat. I don't have much to share, I'm afraid. Father doesn't talk about Mom, but what I gathered from the others, he did one thing a wolf is never meant to do during his, well, first time. Which is... he fell madly in love. They both did. He scoffs in amusement, and I smile. To many, it seemed almost obscene. They didn't care. All they wanted is to be together. That's why she stayed so long after your birth, isn't it? I make an educated guess. Do you know what happened to her? That question seems to have really set him up into a high alert, and the wolf perks. I really don't want to talk about that. Sorry. No, it's me who's sorry. I should have guessed it's too personal for you to talk. It's not. Ranok cuts me off, placing his heavy paw on my shoulder and lifting my chin with the other. There's a lot of things I'd want to talk about. We have only so little time. I don't want to waste it lingering in the past when I can enjoy the present with you. Same, to be fair. Oh, by the way, guys, I forgot to tell y'all, we hit 1 million views on the channel. Yee! Yes, thank you all so much. How about we aim for 1 million more before the end of this year? I think we can do it, guys. Anyway, I say, stepping closer to him and snuggling into his muscular arm. Thank you again for bringing me here. I wanted to see this place for quite a while now. The tree's really beautiful, although a bit bigger than I expected. Oh? He looks to me with confusion and then darts his gaze towards the tree. An involuntary smile appears on my face as he tilts his head in that typical canine fashion while scrutinizing it. I mean, it is around 22 years old. Then again, the named trees aren't really regular trees. Apparently there's some sylvan magic involved, some remnant of the old ways. He looks to me with a troubled gaze at his muddled explanation. I guessed as much. I nod in agreement. I wouldn't mind learning more about that, to be fair. What? The old ways? That's something you'd have to investigate without me. Why? Is it another one of the you'll be killed if you... No, no. The tease is cut off by his frantically shaking paws. I simply haven't got a clue about all that. My father decriminalized sylvan practices. Into the horror of the elders. I jest, but he sighs heavily. Not exactly a laughing matter. He was nearly killed for it. What? I gasp in shock, and he looks back towards the tree. It was a very unpopular move. I think he did it because Mom was a believer. One of the alphas challenged him to a duel and lost. My father showed mercy, but the male was a bitter loser. During the following feast, he tried to assassinate him with a javelin. Father got pinned down to his own chair. Nearly lost his life then. The scar on the chest! I conclude, grasping at my lips. It's pretty much the shape and size of what a javelin would look like. What a javelin would look like. That's when Vithir rushed in and ripped the honorless traitor's throat wide open with his own fangs. After that, there was a massive purge. He and Dad banished all the malcontents to the outer packs, allowing only trusted wolves to remain within the village. Is that the dirt the elders have on him? Dirt? The wolf blinks at me in confusion and I sigh internally. I guess I won't let him relax on this trip. I decide to share with him what I've overheard at the villa, the threats and the shouting sprees, but to my surprise, Ranok takes it all awfully well. It's been like that ever since I can remember. Father's transition to power wasn't exactly peaceful. The assassination attempt was the last tremor of a far worse time, but it seemed to divert his gaze and nudging me into a slow gait. I really don't want to talk about politics, my past, or anything other that could drag our mood down. Here. He stops for a moment to look back at the tree one last time, and I join his locked gaze with mine. You silly cats. Here's where my future unfolded, and finally I've made it flesh, standing beside me. What I want now is to simply look forward and enjoy the time we're given. Amen. I nod happily, almost tearing up at his sweet testimonial. I'm sorry for being such a killjoy. It's fine. I've grown accustomed to your empty mind wandering off. You have lots of questions and simply want answers. There's time and place for everything. My place right now is at your side, and the time for us to simply relax and take our cross-country trip. I pick up our luggage and again wrap myself around his arm, as we proceed to leave the place with subtle smiles. The road winds lazily through many overgrown knolls and mounds, the trees flanking the path looking older and wilder, eager to reclaim the strip of land, cutting the realm in half. Now and then my feet stumble, drawing weary gaze from the wolf, but I muster all my strength not to falter. Hours go by, and my resolve dwindles, stifled by the feelings of utter helplessness, as the scenery seems not to change much at all. It seems as if we are barely moving, but Ranok spurs me on, giving encouragements every time I'm about to surrender. The backpack weighs heavily on my shoulders. The merry clanging of the pan and pot now seems like more mockery. How did we take all this stuff? But each time I feel a complaint dangling at the edge of my tongue, my eyes dart to the wolf. Heavily armored and with his massive longsword, he still carries an unimaginable load of gold at his side in silence. I will not insult him by whining, so I resign myself to silent endurance. I have little strength to talk, but that gives me plenty of time to think. My mind mostly strays to the uncanny room I escaped tonight. The world I left behind feels now like a dream or a childish flight of fancy. But it is real. As real as the world I'm walking in right now. At least I'd like to think that. The sun twinkles between the leaves of the woodland canopy, and I wish we were more out in the open. In summer, the shade would provide a much-needed respite from the heat, but now, in the last cusps of winter, the harsh, cold breeze serves only as a reminder of how little I'm wearing. I pull the cloak tighter around me and continue following the sun with my eyes. Shortly past noon, we stop on the side of the road, and I drop the backpack to the ground with a loud gasp of relief. The wolf looks at me with an emphatic smile and hands me the water skin. I uncork it and take several deep gulps, not minding the fact that some of the cool liquid trickles down my chin. God, I needed that! I exhale, drawing a subtle chuckle from him. Well, we've covered 8 miles. Is that bad or good? Neither this nor that. He shrugs, taking his turn with the drink. We've been walking for just 4 hours, so... Felt like forever! I groan, slumping down onto the ground and just looking at the dirt between my splayed feet. How far is Strandbard, anyway? At least 80 more miles. Ranok snorts, looking between the food parcels we've gotten early this morning. He passes me one of the quiches, and I bite into it despondently. That means we have another 40 hours of continuous march. If you can keep up the pace, he emphasizes teasingly, taking a seat beside me, but I don't find it funny. Seeing my mood remaining firmly on the downside, he bumps into my shoulder. Don't worry, it'll get easier with time. We still have at least 8 hours of road to cover today. 8 hours? I exclaim in horror, looking at my ragged shoes with worry. No words can describe how glad I am I've insisted on this improvised footwear. I cannot feel my legs. Cheer up. He pets my cheek with one finger. For now, just try to eat and rest. You'll see. Before you know it, we'll be setting up camp. I lock my defeated gaze with the quiche and take a deep breath. He's right. I take a bite and enjoy the treat Cora had prepared. A crumbly crust with eggy, cheesy goodness speckled with smoked ham and chives. In all fairness, even this exhausting trip beats the nightmare I escaped a scant few hours ago. At least I have my wolf beside me. I lean onto his shoulder and we eat the food in silence, exchanging the water skin every few bites. No, sweet boy, you cannot come over here and lay on my laptop. I'm too tired to walk and no words are needed. It's just him and me. Us. We're both simply enjoying each other's company. Sweet boys. My sweet boys. You gonna meow? Huh? You gonna meow? Yes, you are. You're gonna meow. Sweet boy. I got a bunch of sweet little boys over here. Sweet boy. Sweet boy. I'm gonna get that boy. I'm gonna get that boy. He's... He's still a little cat. He's squeaking and rolling around. Alright. True to his word, the evening comes sooner than expected. We stopped only one more time, another 4 hours into our journey, dividing it into 3 neat segments. On the third leg of our trek, the sky grew darker and darker with each passing step. The dim light of the day began to wane fast, and we decided to stop for the night. The spot should do nicely. The wolf nods in satisfaction at a little clearing just a few paces off the trail. I look around and agree without conviction. I'm not a camper, so I don't know whether this place is good or not. All I really care about is that we're finally done walking. I throw our luggage onto the ground and plop myself lazily in the grass, while he removes his gear. I watch as the wolf scurries about between different bushes. He's collecting various thin and long sticks, piling them up in front of me. Those are for the tent, he explains, pulling out his side sword and cutting off a dry branch of a nearby tree. Once he has all he needs, he nods towards me, asking for help. Reluctantly, I get up, against the wishes of every aching muscle of my body. He uses his blade to dig up a shallow hole and place one end of the stick against it. Hold it like this, he requests, and I nod while he gets another pole and mirrors it with the one I'm supporting. When their top ends meet, the wolf secures them with rope, effectively creating one side of the triangular frame. Within a few minutes, the supporting structure is ready to receive the cover, and I watch with satisfaction as the wolf fastens the cloth to the ground with metal pins. With the tent set up, Ranok clears a small spot, digging a shallow pit to which he deposits firewood he happened upon. Once the fire is dancing merrily, our camp is set. Not thanks to me in any part, but it seems the wolf gives me leeway on account of how exhausted I am. I scooch closer to the flames, drawing as much warmth from them as I can. After such an intense workout, a sudden lack of movement makes one incredibly insensitive to the slightest of breezes. Ranok takes the time to scan the surrounding area, clearly looking for something. Once he finds his quarry, his muzzle lightens up, and I watch as he measures quite a long branch in his paws, trying to snap it in two. Confident that it's sturdy enough, he pulls it over to the fire, and my curiosity intensifies when he then rolls over a massive trunk. What's he up to? I watch Ranok wedge the far end of the branch into a fallen tree and use the rolled trunk to prop it up, creating an arm from which he can suspend the iron pot. The ingenuity of this guy continues to amaze me. When he's satisfied with his contraption, he dusts his paws and looks at me with a smile. So, want some stew? Would I ever? I muse it, very much enticed by the prospect of a hot meal. Oh. Would I ever? There you go. He fills the pot with the remaining water from the skin bag and sets it to a boil. I'm still very much bushed, so I lean back and breathe the fresh evening air while the wolf rustles through our backpack. How are you going to make stew when we didn't bring any ingredients with us? Oh, there's an old scouting trick to get your belly full, Ranok mutters in amusement. Cora has made us some pork and leek pies. He presents me with 2 round pastries, and I look at him in confusion. How's that going to make a stew? Simple. You just dunk them in and let them dissolve. He shrugs, doing exactly as he just explained. I watch him stir the pot with a wooden spoon, breaking the pies apart, while his tail swishes in content. The pastry will give it body, while the gravy and stuffing flavor. The wolf takes a quick sip, nodding in approval. It's not the best thing in the world, but much better than going a night without a warm belly. I'll take your word for it. I smile, pulling in closer and leaning into his furry body. The stew takes a few moments to come around, and once it's boiling and ready, the wolf nudges me gently before I doze off. Mind fetching the bowls? He asks politely, and I nod. With the steaming food served, we sit opposite each other and dig in with wide grins on our faces. The stew smells pretty much like the meat pies it was made of, and the flavor, although a bit bland, is such a welcome sensation. In fact, I enjoy its warmth and thickness the most, and it fills the belly nicely. As I spoon the last portion of the stew, my eyes venture to the speckled sky above. It feels so vast and endless, but above all, alien. I can't fend off this feeling of being stranded somewhere completely foreign. Not a single feature in the sky is familiar. Even the moon seems different now that I look at her closely. The vision I had the other night feels doubly cruel. Everything I knew, everything I had, is gone. Most likely forever. What's the matter? The wolf nudges my shoulder, clearly noticing the shift in my mood. It's nothing, really. Just suddenly felt incredibly alone. Alone? He raises one brow, challengingly, and I shake my head. Sorry, it must sound silly and a bit ungrateful. I cherish your company more than anything in this world. But... He aptly guesses there's an asterisk, and I sigh heavily. I don't want you to think I'm crazy. Never. He protests, and the reassurance in his voice gives me the courage to say what I meant to say for quite a while now. I don't think I'm from here. Well, of course you aren't. There are no humans in Tiernan. I shake my head again, this time in a mixture of amusement and frustration at him missing my point. I don't mean the forest or the whole continent for that matter. I don't mean the forest or the whole continent for that matter. You think you're from across the sea? No, I don't think I'm from this world altogether. My eyes meet his surprised gaze with determination, and at first the wolf is taken aback. I allow my words to hang for a moment, and eventually he sets his bowl aside. What makes you say that? The sky, among many other things you wouldn't understand. I flash my brow, looking away in embarrassment. In truth, I'm not really sure how to even go about this verbal madness I'm about to unpack on this poor, unsuspecting wolf. Try me. He flashes his brows right back at me in a taunting manner. I know you see us for the most part as backward savages, but astrology is something we're intimately familiar with. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks. Your tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.